Charlie, tell us about yourself.
Sure. So, passion for Porsche from an early age, thanks to my father, who was a marshal at our local racing circuit, and his passion was Porsches. He only ever had a 912, and that was before I was even born, but was always a member of the Porsche Club. Wherever we went, I was taught to spot 911s, and soon fell in love myself. Went off to study industrial design at uni because mother said, I don't want you to be a grease monkey, but the passion eventually won, and I began working for a Porsche Specialist locally to here, dealing in all these water-cooled cars over 10 years ago now, so got to learn an awful lot about them. Then went on to work for another specialist, Paul Stevens, where got involved with all the air-cooled cars because I'd kind of bought and sold so many of these. I thought, oh, this air-cooled era is before my time, I want to learn more about it, and I've got a real secret passion for the air-cooled cars now. I really enjoy them, their simplicity, their build quality. You know, they were made of proper stuff back in those days, whereas this was the era when Porsche knocked on the door of Toyota and said, hey guys, you know, and Subaru, you've been building water-cooled boxer engines for ages. They asked for help, and they also asked help for their lean manufacturing processes. So they ran, for the first time ever, two cars side by side, the Boxster and the 996, that shared components. And so all of a sudden they went from handcrafting these beautiful 911s, and like the 928 we looked at earlier, that was supposed to actually take over from the night. It was just too expensive to produce. It was just, you know, all round not the best move that they made. Similarly, the 964 at the time, that was a time when Porsche were really stuck, and I think it was this water-cooled era that saved Porsche really, because mass producing the parts, loads more injection molded parts, you know, machines taking over from people hand painting and things. It changed the dynamic a lot of the company. But
so give us some advice for a first-time 911 buyer that's looking to maybe not spend a whole lot of money for his first Porsche.
Probably buy the best possible car you can and make some compromises. So, you know, so many people have got their heart set on, I want a black 911. I've wanted one of them all. Well, yeah, we all would love a black 911 maybe, or a grey one, but ultimately don't get your heart set on just a colour, because you'll fall in love with the first shiny black one that you find, and it might be at the right price, it might be a bit high price, but ultimately you need to carefully inspect every car you look at and make some compromises. Oh, it's black and it's got black interior, but oh, it hasn't got the lights that I wanted. But well, if it's a lovely car, live with the options that you're missing. So here, you know, everyone the sat nav you can kind of not worry too much about, because it's so out of date and old now. In the UK you can't even put a postcode in it, so don't worry about the sat nav. Lightronic headlights, I must admit, is a nice option, because there's two things you want in any sports car: it's good music and good headlights. So having the Bose, having the Lightronics, I think are two of my favourite options, because you've then got, you know, a nice package. But
and tell us about this fine example of a 996.
So this is really unusual. I've known this car from day one. I helped the guy choose some of the options on it. I knew he wasn't going to use it a lot, so we chose just the right amount of bits. We had it Armour Friend protected, which is the paint protection film from new, and as I said to you earlier, he's struggled to do 800 miles a year in it since then, and it's now 15 years later, time that he's going to get into something else. We've gone and retrieved it from his garage, where it's lived all of its life under a cover, and it's covered.
How many miles?
8,900 miles to date. It's been serviced 10 times. It's never had a panel painted. The wheels have never been refurbished. It's still on its original Michelin tyres, which amazingly still have quite a bit of tread.
Unbelievable.
They're probably hard as concrete now, and I wouldn't want to travel too far on them, but it's now falling into that collector car quality, and it's an interesting example. It's helped us, you know, understand the values of where the water cooleds are going to go, because you couldn't restore a car really to this condition and this standard for much less than 50 grand. If you wanted to totally rebuild the engine, totally retrim the interior, totally strip and repaint the body, renew the lights, renew the brakes, renew the suspension, you could spend 50k in a heartbeat. You know, the engine rebuilds, a good engine rebuilds, you know, around the 8 to 10k mark alone.
And this currently is on your website for about how much?
We've got this car up at 49,995, so it's probably one of the more expensive C4Ss ever, or out there certainly. There is a couple of other cars. One's coming up at auction soon with some friends of ours at Silverstone Auctions. Similar mileage, similar story, similar conditions. So we're going to be interested to see what that makes. And then there's an X51 power upgrade cabriolet at another dealer up to 55. So.
And the X51 is the different engine?
Yeah, so it's yeah, I've had a couple of cars with X51. It was a standard option on the anniversaries, and at the time, and we looked at this option for this car when he ordered it. At the time, it was, I think, a £7,000 or £8,000 upgrade, and it gave you, I believe, all of 25 horsepower, and everyone kind of went, 7,000 or 8,000 for 25 horsepower, when everyone was so used to like, oh, just get a remap done. Well, the differences were you'd get aluminium inlet manifolds, the cylinder heads were different, the exhaust manifolds were different. I think there was quite a number of changes, and that brought the cars up to 340 horsepower, I think. And that's only 20 less than a GT3. So when you drive one of these if you can find one, they're really hard to come by. It's phenomenal. The torque and the power delivery is so much different to a standard car. Even though it's only 25 brake horsepower, all of those components combined make for almost a GT3 performance in a car. So that would be an option if you ever find an X51. You know, that's where you make a compromise. If it's stone chipped and the wheels need refurbing, you go, I don't care, because that was a £7,000 option. I'll spend my money on refurbishing the aesthetics. So.
And I have to ask, because the internet is just ablaze with everybody complaining about IMS bearings. If they came to you and they said, hey Charlie, I want to replace my IMS bearing, I just got this new used example of a 911, I want to be safe and replace it, how much would that set them back?
So it depends what bearing they choose. There's quite a range now of bearings. We're quite favouring the EPS bearings at the moment. We think they're a really good product. I've fitted numerous EPS bearings. To us, they work out around, I think it's about the £500 plus VAT marks, around 600 quid. LN Engineering were leading the game for a long time, and they still are to a degree, developing amazing products. They even do the oil-fed bearing we talked about earlier. But again, the price starts creeping up and up and up and up. I tend to fit the EPS bearing for people. I mean, you're there, you've got the gearbox out, the clutch and the flywheel are sat there, so that's a conversation that's always worth having. We've just had an engineering firm make a load of lightweight flywheels for us, because we've just been trying to explore the alternate options. Works out cheaper than a dual mass, and going forward you'll never have to change the flywheel again. So next time you need a clutch, it's just a clutch plate. But yeah, if someone came in and said, I just want the IMS bearing changed, nothing else, it usually works out from us, who are a bit cheaper than the others, around the £1,100 or £1,200 mark.
That's amazing.
Using the EPS bearing.
So well under $2,000.
Oh yeah,
under $1,800 to
no,
quick translation. That's amazing.
Yeah, now we've invested in all the tooling. When I first started doing them, I did charge a bit more, because I'd had to invest a couple of thousand in the tooling and getting the hang of doing them. But it's cool. We've done so many now for us. It's
So Charlie, if they wanted to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you? How do they find you?
So we're a bit elusive to find, because we haven't done huge amounts of advertising yet. 911 and Porsche World have just found us, so they've done a few features recently. Jumping onto our website, williamfrancis.com, you'll see the selection of cars and our contact details on there. We're also on Instagram occasionally when we get some time to take some pictures, which is at WFP911.
Closest major city?
Closest major city is Cambridge, or we're also quite close to Ipswich, which is a town, but only about an hour and a half from London, and an hour from Stansted Airport. So
fantastic.
Yeah, we have clients that do fly in from all over the world, which is always fun. So
excellent, Charlie. Thanks for talking to us.
No problem.